I'm Reuben Ebrahimoff, the author of From Your Lips to God's Ears. It's a book that I wrote to explain the book of Tehillim, the book of Psalms. Growing up, I was taught to read Psalms, in Hebrew, Tehillim. I realized there was a lot of components that were obscure and not easily understandable. Lo ira ra ki ata imadi. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. So as fast as my lips would say the words, I would swallow the meaning. So what I brought out in this book is a easily accessible way that a regular person could become a Tehillim, a Psalms maven. In order to teach, I had to learn. What I found is it opened up a journey. Everybody tells me, oh, King David wrote the book of Psalms. But guess what? There were 10 different authors. I go, what? What is that? Who were they? So I researched who they were. They were members of the Levitical orchestra. They were either composers, musicians, singers. God spoke to man, the Haftorahs. Now the book of Tehillim, Psalms, is how man would speak to God. That's what this book sets out to do, to make you lucid and make you an expert in understanding the words that King David and his team put together so that you are able to embrace it in a way that it is second nature to you when communicating, praying. What is the purpose of this book? Is to use these men as spiritual role models and examples of how they thought. From the beginning of time, every culture and society understood that they had a creator, whomever they believed in. People would sit together and acknowledge God as the source of this blessing. They would not take anything for granted. Taken from where? From the source of all blessing. The next level would take the relationship is if you wrote a poem. The next step would be if the poem would be sung. The word psalms means songs accompanied by music. So the translation out of Hebrew, Tehillim, into the word psalms is a Greek word for music accompanying songs. So I wanted to speak about that. So the greatest way to praise God would be through poetry and through music. And that was the function of the Leviim, of the Levitical orchestra. That's what they did. And not much has changed. If you look at King David, he endures today, 3,000 years ago. He lived roughly 3,000 years from the time of creation, and it's roughly 3,000 years ago, dead center. So this man endures. You cannot go into a prayer book, a Siddur, 50 full chapters of Psalms are there that we say every day. And if you go outside of Judaism, you can hardly find a funeral that they don't say a chapter of Psalms, the Lord is my shepherd. If someone is sick, if somebody wants to have children, if somebody wants to get married, even when someone passes away, there is hardly a time where we don't say a chapter of Tehillim. But which one do we say? Up until now, there's been very limited amount of information about this. I am fortunate enough to be part of this family called the Kelati family, who in London took the book written by Chai Gaon, a man that lived about 1,000 years ago, and he took each and every one of the 150 chapters. Then he picked a specific sentence within the chapter, and he explains why would you read this chapter for that outcome. I'll give you an example. So King David has a moment of truth where a decision has to be made, and he prays for a positive outcome, like his father-in-law shouldn't kill him. So we would then take that chapter on the day that we're going to court, and we would pray for a positive decision in the heavens so that we would be victorious. So we're utilizing the way that King David would think and pray to God as a role model and as an example for how we should use the same text for the specific outcomes. There's so much going on in our everyday life. From the second we wake up, there's numbers of things to do before you get out the house, then get to the office, then back to your family. When do we have time to have these spiritual moments? So what I try to do is give people something accessible that they can train their brain to think spiritually for even just a few moments a day.